when we look at propaganda, we're looking at communication, more specifically persuasion, that has deliberately gone bad. That is, it is not playing fair. It is communication which has, for want of a better word, committed sins, um, which in rhetoric are called fallacies, or in argumentation, which is the study of this, basically. And these are have been long known and identified. I mean, they're thousands of years old. Thousands of years old in the West, and thousands of years older in Asian cultures, where it's clear these kinds of sort of general fallacies that human beings sort of reach for and say, but I can't be wrong because blah, and you come up with some fallacy, which is a reason that basically is, we say it's fallacious, which means it is a reason that is false. The thinking behind it, the logic behind it, does not hold up, and you'll see people using these things. You'll hear them using them. You'll see them in ads, and some of them are more serious than others. Some sins are, you're like, okay, it's like a white lie. It's like, all right, which you'll often hear at the end of an ad, and it'll say, and the blah 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 will be too. You're like, who believes that stuff? Well, I guess somebody does, otherwise you wouldn't say it. Okay. So here are some of the most common and dangerous fallacies. Now I've chosen 7 from a possible list of at least, God, I don't know, 100. I mean, if you look up argumentative fallacies on Wikipedia or at some law site, if you just type in argumentative fallacies, fallacy, not like the phallus fallacy, but fallacy, F-A-L-L-A-C-Y, fallacy, plural A-C-I-E-S, fallacies, then you'll see like lists and lists of these things, because, and this is one of the things you need to do when you go, say, into law, is you need to be trained in these fallacies. So you're in a court of law and you're like, no, wait, hold on a second. I know that pattern of that. And a lot of it is pattern recognition. I mean, a lot of argument, a lot of knowing recognizing arguments, like, oh, I've heard that before, and that's what we're doing here. Is we're going to little pattern recognition here. You're going to put this to work, and then I'm going to show you some examples, and then you're going to make your own fallacy-ridden piece of propaganda, disgusting propaganda, which we'll see. People often get a blast out of it, which is why people go into this as a living. Okay, so what are these different things? I will give you a chance to write them down. Okay, here we go. I'll get out of the way, Tim. All right, I'll give you a chance to take a shot of this or write it down. Okay, I'm assuming you have paused me, and we're now back at work. Okay, good job. So let me go through these one by one and explain what the heck they are. Okay, so the first, one of the most common, especially for propaganda, is a personal or group attack. That is an attack on a person or a group, right? These are known by their Latin names, usually, because most of them are known by their Latin names, because they are so bloody common. So ad hominem or ad populum. Now you'll remember that I talked about jus ad bello and jus in bello. Jus ad bellum and jus in bello, right? So justice to war is actually what is a just war, and how is it just to fight a war. Ad is the same thing here. It means to. So to the person, ad hominem, to a person. Ad populum, to the people. Right? A personal attack or a group would be something like my opponent. Well, okay, there are 4, count them, 4 subsets that personal attacks or groups, attacks on people or a person or a group comes under. Okay, so there are 4 very common personal or group attacks. The first one is character assassination, right? My opponent is an idiot. That's it. Don't believe my opponent because he's an idiot. or she's an idiot. It's just character assassination. Just flat out, they're a bad person. The second thing, the second kind of personal or group attack is an attack on origins. My opponent is an idiot because they were born on the wrong side of the tracks, or because they have this skin color, or because they believe in this magic book instead of my magic book of beliefs, or because they're Wiccan or whatever it is. So, well, that's actually a slightly different thing. So it's the origins, like where did they come from? Who are they? So you're fundamentally going at the core of the person. Right? The third kind of attack is guilt by association. So my opponent is a bad person because he hangs out with bad people. It's like, hold on a second. How do we know that because you hang out with bad people, you are a bad person? We don't know that at all. It's not proven. You got to go get the proof. Just because I hang out with bad people means I'm a bad, guilt by association. That's it. Okay. Or, and this is related, the fourth thing, guilt by affiliation, right? That is, I am affiliated with, for instance, I go to the bar where the Drugs Are Cool motorcycle club hangs out. And you know what happens if you're at that bar, everybody's at that bar is a smack user. It's like, what? Oh, I go to that bar to meet my girlfriend, who's the bartender. Or I go to that bar because I like the people, but not interested in drugs. So this affiliation, right? So there are these four things: character assassination, attack on origins, where did you come from, who are you? Guilt by association, you hang around with dubious people. Guilt by affiliation, you're affiliated with a club. Could be a religious club. He's one of those Protestants. Can't be having that now. Okay, so this is very, very strong, and it's one of the first things we go for when we're attacking somebody. It's like, I just don't like him. He's, that's it. Okay. Then the next one, and I've sort of stacked these up in terms of they are so powerful, and we just reach for them. Like when we're fighting with somebody, the more we dislike the person that we're fighting with, the more upset we are about the topic, the more likely we are to reach for a fallacy. It's the worst. You have to watch your own language. You're like, oh my God, because I'll be in, say, disputing with somebody, and this often happens. If I go to give a talk about war and somebody says, well, you just are like, and they'll make an attack on me. Well, they attack you, you're going to attack them back. So it's kind of like getting into a fist fight. It's like, don't start. You got to take a hit and you got to nod, respond, right? Okay, so let me move this. Oops, move this up here. Okay, so an appeal to authority. An appeal to authority is very, very common. And the authority here may be a book. It may be a church. It might be the state. It might be an educator. It might be a priest, a politician, a doctor, some form of public figure, or somebody who everybody agrees, quote unquote, everybody agrees, this person knows the truth. And so you would say, well, I wouldn't do blah, blah, blah if the president weren't doing it. And this is why it's so freaky to have a president who's like, hey, I'm down with white supremacy. He's like, whoa, what? No, it's like, okay, that may be your personal belief, which is bad enough. But having an authority figure say this is okay is enormously dangerous, because then you've got people who will say, well, if it's okay for them, it's okay for me. See? I mean, like, after all, we wouldn't have a person in office who was corrupt. I mean, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't have elected somebody who lies to us all the time. We're better than that. And everybody would be like, yeah, we're better than that. That's right. So the authority figures are very important, which is why when an authority figure, it turns out, is like, oh, wait a second, the authority figure turns out to be a rapist, or the authority figure turns out to be somebody who is engaged in coercive behavior, or has been lying, or is a cheater, or they were like, whoa, hold on a second. So figures of authority, that's one thing. But a lot of people will say, well, that's the law. I believe it. It's like, okay, but the law can be wrong. Like, it could be the law of the land that, as it was for, well, hundreds of years, the law of the land was that men who slept with men were forbidden. Basically, this was forbidden by a rule book, the Bible, in the case of Christians. This is not to be. This is against the way God wanted things, apparently, and therefore we will strike them. They are not people, and so people who were queer had to say, "Oh, okay, I can't talk about this, or else they're going to come for me." So the law can be wrong, right? And we can. That's why we change laws. We didn't make a law and then say, as they say, it's not written in stone. It's like, well, actually, the 10 Commandments were apparently written in stone, right? It's like, okay, these are the 10 things you should never do. It's like, well, except that then came Christ. Anyway, another whole discussion about, how do we wind up with the Book of Magic, the Great Book of Magic? Is that a Bible? Well, is that your Bible? It's a Bible. So the Bible is a huge problem for us because it's the thing which people will appeal to. And they'll say, well, here's my guide. And people are like, oh, that's fine. Well, maybe it isn't, because how are you interpreting it? Right? So an appeal to authority, very, very dangerous, very hard to get away from. You say, and it's very hard, when you're thinking about an argument, you say, yeah, well, so-and-so believes it. And the person says, 2 people can be wrong, or 500 million people can be wrong. Right? Okay, the third thing is irrelevant reasons, plural. There are 4 subsets. I know you're like, oh, not 4 more subsets. It's like, I know, it's complex, okay? This is why I'm giving you I promise, the barest bones here, but you need to be able to, like, what is an irrelevant reason? Okay, well, there are a few common ways that we make that reasons become irrelevant. They're just like, you're like, yeah, that's not a good reason. Out. So, and what happens if you catch one of these fallacies? Well, it's not part of the argument, because if it's fallacious, it's wrong. It's a sin. So you're like, out. This is not a good reason for me doing whatever it is. I should go to war because what? Because the Bible says so. It's like, not a good reason. No, not doing it. Okay, irrelevant reasons. The first one is an appeal to pity, which may look kind of, you're like, whoa, come on, Tim, how is that important? It's like, well, how about this? Somebody says to you, please go with me on a trip. And you're like, I really can't. I don't have the money right now, and I'm worried about my friend who needs my support. And they're like, please come. I won't enjoy it if you're not there. It's like, okay, that sort of seems like a reasonable, it's an emotional claim, but it seems reasonable, sort of. You're like, okay, I hear that you want me to go. I get that. But they get more desperate and they say, if you don't come with me, I'll have a terrible time. It's like, ooh, wow. So now you're responsible for their happiness. So they've appealed to your pity, and so now they're really, the thumb screws are really on you. They're really putting the heat to you, right? Because they're like, if you don't come with me, then I am going to have a terrible time, and it's going to be your fault. So there's this, so that's an irrelevant reason. It doesn't matter. You have your reasons for not going. Those don't get changed by the other person's appeal to pity. That so that by the same token, as a teacher, people will often, not often, it doesn't really happen that much, but people may come to me and have come to me in the past and said, if you don't change this grade, I won't get into business school. And I'm like, well, that's not necessarily such a bad thing. Actually, no, I don't say that. But I'll say that is an appeal to pity. That you want me to change the grades so that you can get into business school. Why should I do that other than you wish to do this thing? It's like, yeah, I see you wish to do it, but you could have worked harder. How about that? It's like, no, all your classmates worked hard too. And the ones that succeeded, you've heard all this before, right? Well, you probably haven't. Okay, the appeal to pity. The second one is an appeal to force. An appeal to force is very, very basic. Don't do this, I'll smash your face. But an appeal to force can come across in a number of different ways. An appeal to force may be, say, the presentation of a spectacle of force. And I'm going to show you one of these, where you're like, wait a second, here's somebody who is showing me how strong we are or they are. And they're using strength as an appeal. A threat effectively is an appeal. So this is where an irrelevant reason, appeal to force is very, very common. Do it or else. Basically, okay, as soon as you hear the words or else, you're in trouble. Another irrelevant reason, which is very common, is sometimes just simply called two wrongs. It has a Latin name, which I won't burden you with, which is related, which sort of says, I'm acting this way, I see you acting the same way. Therefore, because we're both wrong, we're both kind of right, it's okay. But the easiest way to think about this is two wrongs. Two wrongs make a right. Well, we all know, I expect we were all trained in kindergarten, that two wrongs do not make a right. That when somebody does you wrong, your job as a good citizen in kindergarten is not to do them wrong in return. So they hit you and you're like, I'm upset. You start to cry. That's fine. But you don't hit them back. You go to the teacher. In my case, I would go to the teacher and say, they hit me. So I'm going to the authority, right? I'm not appealing to the authority. Well, I am, but I'm not sort of making an appeal to the authority. I'm actually going to the authority. I'm like, fix the situation. So-and-so hit me, fix it. And then they get to the bottom of and I get justice. And then that person is put out of grade 5 or grade 1 for the rest of their lives. Justice. Sweet justice. So two wrongs make a right is this idea that because they hurt me, I can hurt them back. It's like, no, that's not how this works. And fundamentally, these are basic things which we've all done in kindergarten. The point is that we're supposed to grow up, right? We're not supposed to be doing this when we're really any older than, 5, right? I mean, you're supposed to be giving that behavior up, not doubling down on it. Okay, so two wrongs make a right. You got to watch out for that one. Because people will say, well, and this is often used in war, right? Especially when it's like, well, they attacked us, so we get to attack them. Well, in the just war laws, just war theory, yes. Proportionate response, yes. But what's the response going to be? And does it have to be an attack? I mean, you can go to war, but that doesn't mean you should. It doesn't mean that that's the right thing to do. Two wrongs don't make a right. But the belief, one of these irrelevant reasons, is that two wrongs do make a right. That's the feeling. It's like, yes, this permits me. So-and-so blew up at me when they were buying their coffee this morning. Therefore, I get to go and yell at them. It's like, no, that's not how this is supposed to work. You're supposed to stay cool. They blew up. They lost their stuff. Okay. The fourth thing is an appeal to ignorance. This is a tough one to find, to catch on to. The easiest way to look for an appeal to ignorance is somebody saying, nobody knew, we didn't know, we never heard, usually never, nobody, never. Those are sort of good indicator words that somebody's appealing to ignorance. So they're saying, nobody knew that COVID was bad in January. It's like, actually, not so. People did know. And they weren't listened to, or the people who listened to them said, we'll take this higher up the line. And somewhere along the line, somebody said, it'll go away. We hope it'll go away. We're rolling the dice here that it's going to go away. Nobody knew. We couldn't have known. It's an appeal to ignorance. We're saying basically, look, we're all ignorant of it, therefore we're not guilty of it. It's like, no, that's not actually true. First of all, were you really ignorant? Because that's a big claim to make. So if your way of proceeding is to say, oh, nobody knew about that, and then if somebody says no, but see, here's the paperwork that says you were there and you were told, you're like, no, I deny it. It's like, no. So you get pulled over and by a cop who says, you shouldn't have been making this left turn into a highway. You're like, I didn't know that. It's like, well, what are you told? Ignorance of the law is no excuse, because in the face of the law, you can't say, but I didn't know. It's like your job as a driver is to be informed. That's your job. If you're not properly informed, you shouldn't be on the road. That's the argument. And it's true. You got to keep everybody safe, yourself and everybody else. So this appeal to ignorance can take a lot of forms, like, nobody knows the trouble I've seen. That's an appeal to ignorance. Especially, you didn't know what it was like growing up as me. It's like, that's true. I didn't know what it was like growing up as you. But that doesn't make you right. It just means I didn't know what it was like to grow up as you, just the same way you didn't know what it was like to grow up as me. But my ignorance about you and your ignorance about me doesn't make you right and me wrong, or vice versa. Right? It just is the way it is, that I don't know what your condition is. That's true. And so I'm waiting now for education. But if I say, well, because you didn't know the way I grew up, therefore you are wrong, is like, no, stop. I may well be wrong, but you have to find another way to display that. Okay, so there are these four things, right? Appeal to pity, appeal to force, these two appeals. And there are many such appeals, but I'm cutting it down to these two. Two wrongs make a right, and an appeal to ignorance. Okay. The rest of these are going to be, you're going to be relieved to know, are fairly open and shut. A false dilemma is the proposition of this or that. It's either this way or that way. Well, it's rare in life that things are only either this way or that way. Usually a false dilemma, usually a false dilemma takes this like, either it's going to be like this or it's going to be like that. Now, you probably have had an argument with a friend or with your parents, and this is very often a parental thing, where a parent who is trying their best to get you to agree to whatever it is says, look, eventually, if condition X, if you're going to live in my house, you are going to play by my rules, or you're going to leave. Now, I hope you haven't heard that, but it's not uncommon when people are pushed and they're completely exasperated with us to say this kind of thing. Okay, but it's a false dilemma. It's like, is there no middle ground? Like, either I do exactly what you want or I leave. How about we sit down and negotiate? They're like, no, we're not negotiating. So, well, actually, yeah, most of the time people do negotiate. So you sit down and you say, maybe there's a third way in here. Is there no other way, really? There are very few things which are actual dilemmas. This is the curious thing about life. And this is one of the reasons why the work I do is qualitative and not quantitative, because I fundamentally don't trust quantitative thinking unless it's basically scientific. And even then it's very gray. It can be very gray. When you talk to scientists, it's like, ooh, and medicine too. It's like, whoa, it's very gray. It's a lot grayer than I thought. It isn't A or B. People will say, well, math is very simple. It's either on or off. It's like, whoa, it's not that simple. So a false dilemma, a real actual dilemma, they're hard to come by. For instance, here's a real actual dilemma. You are either pregnant or you are not. You can't be partly pregnant, right? You either yes or no, right? It doesn't matter how far along in the pregnancy. I don't mean that the fetus is a human. That's a big discussion, right? When does the collection of cells, which is the fertilized egg, become a human being? For some people, right away. That's it. As soon as the sperm and the cell and the egg connect, that's a human being. Other people will say, no, it's not until there are eyes or until we recognize a brain. It's like, okay, whatever. So there's all kinds of, at that point, there's all kinds of definitions of what a human being is. But pregnancy, it's like either you have a fertilized egg or you don't. That's a dilemma. It's either this or that, right? But most other things have at least one other way. And if there's one other way, it's not a dilemma. Dilemma literally means two ways. Okay, not quite. It's more complex than that. But anyway, this is good enough. The next thing below me here is a slippery slope. The slippery slope is one of those things which we've heard a lot of in the last 4 years. If this, then that, and then boom. So the first thing you're like, okay, if that happens, yeah, okay, and then this is going to happen, and we go through. So we start off with like, let me, we start off with this one. You're like, this reason. Oh, you're like, okay, yeah, I buy that one, and then this one, and then you go and you miss all the others, and you're. Now the way I think about this, and I've been using this image in my mind for the last, I don't know, 40 years that I've been either working with this stuff or teaching it. Is that it's one of those days in the spring where it's muddy but also still snowy out. So there's snow on the ground, but the snow is going, and the ground is frozen, so it's hard. But there's this little skin of mud, so like the top of the hills are starting to, it's starting to get. You're seeing bare earth. So let's say you're walking, I don't know, on the Talbot, at the top of the Talbot Hill, between Middlesex and UC. And you take one step and you're like, ooh, it's a little slippery. And you take another step, you're like, I'm okay. And then you take one more step and whoop, and your feet slide out from under you and you land on your butt and you slip all the way down the hill and you're all covered with mud and crap. And oh, you get to the bottom of the hill, you're like, oh, and you're wet and cold and you're covered with mud. And you're like, oh my God, here I am at the bottom of the hill. How did I get to the bottom of the hill? It's a slippery slope, right? Because you took one step, two steps, boom, and you ran up and you zoom to the bottom. Okay, how does this work? So we're very good at this. Unfortunately, we're way too good at this as human beings. If I don't meet people in face-to-face this fall, then I won't meet people that I need to meet in school to make networks. And if I don't have a network, I'll never get a job. And if I don't get a job, I'll be on the street. I'll be a street person. Ooh, so boom, suddenly we're down at the bottom in a catastrophe. It's like, oh my God, it's a catastrophe. Holy moly. We went from not seeing people face to face this fall to being a street person like that, because we slipped on a slope and we were like, zoom, and down we went, right? So that's what we use on ourselves. We went catastrophic thinking, is sometimes people say this is catastrophizing. Same idea. Catastrophizing, go from A, B, Z, and the Z is like, it's over. Everything is finished. Oh my God, it's terrible. So again, to look at the Trump campaign, which has been very, very fruitful for people teaching argumentation. Jeez, there have been so many examples every day. You're like, oh, there's an embarrassment of riches. It's like, if this happens and this happens, then disaster, right? So if we take down a Confederate statue, then they're going to come for our guns, and then we'll be locked up in liberal prisons for the rest of our lives. It's like, what? How did that happen? It's like, it's a slippery slope. It's fallacious reasoning, because you went from A to B to Z, and people are like, yeah, we got to stop that. And so you hold the line at the very first thing. You say, we're not ever giving up, not our guns, but what was the first thing I said? We're not ever going to agree to this, because it means, and then it means this, and this, and this, and this. Now you should recognize a slippery slope from all the work you just did, because the domino theory is one of those. If one domino falls, then the next one will, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and so will they all fall. It's like, so if South Vietnam becomes communist, then so will Cambodia, and Laos, and Thailand, and Burma. It's a series of dominoes. Oh, slippery slope. So it turns out that the basic reasoning for the Vietnam War was a key argumentative fallacy, which everybody knew, everybody understood. This is a slippery slope, including the people who were selling it, because they had all gone to big places like Yale and Harvard. And I mean, my God, McNamara went to the Harvard Business School, for Christ's sake. He got an MA, which at the time is like becoming a wizard. Okay, that's a slippery slope. the sixth one I put in because people persist in using beg the question when they really mean ask the question, but beg the question sounds really cool. So people will say, you know, we don't know how long it's going to take to get a vaccine, which begs the question that it's like, no, it doesn't. To beg the question is to create a tautology, which is a circular argument. A circular argument is quite simple, actually. That can be really hard to see. These are tough to see. They're tough to spot. Where somebody says, they'll have, say, a series of reasons why. You know, why is it important for us to go to school this way this fall? Well, we have to worry about the safety and the health of the people who are involved, you and me. Then we have to worry about the safety and the health of people that we're going to see in our daily lives. Third, we have to worry about whether or not people who you know are actually going to be responsible and reliable. Are they really going to are they really going to social distance? Are they going to not go out and go to the pubs and get drunk and go to raves and go to parties and all the things that people like to do? It's like, it's not, I'm not saying those are bad things. I'm just saying that if you got a virus that's walking around the way we do at the moment, it's going to transmit the virus. So maybe not such a great thing to do. So, you know, these are reasons why we decided we should be online. Okay, those are reasons why. If one of the reasons why we should be online is that being online is good for us, it's like, no, that's the same reason as being online. In other words, one of my premises, this is why we should do this, is the same as the conclusion. So if one of my reasons is the same as my conclusion, we should do X because X is good for us, then we're begging the question. We have created a tautology. So A supports A because it's A. Why should we do this? Because it's good for us. So the reason is not then a reason, and we have to take it out. We have to say, no, that one can't stay because it begs the question. That's what begging the question is. Begging the question has nothing to do with asking the question. Begging the question has to do with the premise and the conclusion being the same thing. And it's hard to find because usually they're not framed the same way or they're not spoken of the same way. So you got to look at it and go, wait a second, this is really familiar to me. It's like, aha, you know, it's begging the question. Hard to find. This last one is easy to find. The so-called straw man, straw person, used to be called straw man. Still is often. So that's why I'm giving it in this format. But if you hear straw person, it's like same thing. Where the person you're fighting with or arguing with says, you know, you said that we would go on vacation and we would be together every day and we would start drinking at 6 o'clock at night. We would day drink and we start drinking at 6 o'clock at night. And now you don't want to do that. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I said we would go on vacation and we'd be together most of the day, but I never said anything about drinking all day. And they're like, yes, you did. And you're like, no, I did. And so what they've done is create a straw person position that you took up. So they misrepresent what you were saying, how you were saying it. In this case, it's just an out-and-out lie because you didn't, let's say you didn't say that thing. But they might take your position and say, what you're really arguing here is blah. And then they rephrase basically and reframe what you're arguing. It's like, no, that's a straw person position. And the reason we use this image of the straw, the reason these things are flagged with these images is that it makes them easy to remember because you got to remember them. You got to remember lots and lots and lots of them because there, as I say, there are dozens. This is the beginning. Well, straw person position is easy to remember because you think about setting up a dummy in a field, which is made of straw. And then you attack the dummy. You're like, well, look at this thing. You know, we'll just cut our opponents apart like this because the dummy can't attack you back. You're creating a dummy, you're making a dummy, you're killing a dummy, and you look powerful that way. The opponent actually can't fight you back, therefore, they're going to lose, and you're going to look better. Okay, so these are arguments sins. All right, I am now going to move on to this final piece, and I'll maybe separate it for you. All right, so here's a bit of a summary. Okay, I'll let you take this down. Okay, so I don't think any of this is very different from what I've said. Propaganda and advertising are different things. Yep. Propaganda follows no rules. It's dirty. It uses any information or technique that will get the job done. Remember that, and this leads on to the third thing, propaganda's aim is damage, hurt, violence, and ultimately war. Ultimately, you create propaganda to go to war against a group, usually. In some cases, the whole nation. Propaganda makes free use of argumentative fallacies. Okay, so basically, propaganda, if it's smart propaganda, we can say that it will lie as little as possible. It will create a different truth. But realistically, good propaganda is whatever works. And that means it may be very, very dirty indeed. But the reality is that if it changed your mind or it got you to go along with what I want, it's good propaganda, because you measure the benefit of propaganda by its efficacy.